Hey everyone, so the left is coming after Nick Fuentes the same way they went after Charlie Kirk. They're calling him a fascist, they're calling him Nazi, neo-Nazi, all kinds of names, and they fully believe that Tyler Robinson, Charlie Kirk's assassin, was a Groyper. And now they are just taking over TikTok with this nonsense. And so I've put a bunch of videos together to show you guys kind of what they're saying and stuff. And a lot of these people are saying in these videos that they have just recently found out what a Groyper is and looked it up. And the first thing that pops up, when you Google what is Groyper is the Wikipedia page. So I showed you guys the other day, I made a video and showed you guys where they are actively updating the Groyper Wikipedia page to make it seem way worse than it was between Nick Fuentes and Charlie Kirk. They're trying to make it seem like the Groypers were going to these events and just menacing and being absolutely horrible. And, they had this beef and stuff when really the Groypers were just going and asking hard questions. But they're making it seem so much worse than that. So we're going to get into this video. I put it all together for you guys. And yeah, let's get into it.
Want to be Tyler Robinson's dad. If you're concerned about the rising political violence following Charlie Kirk's death, please share this video. Hi, if you're an American, we're currently in the Groyper Wars and you need to get educated on that real fucking quick. All of this political violence that's happening, it's not left versus right, it's not Democrats versus Republicans, it's not MAGA versus the libs, it's the Groypers versus everyone else.
Yeah, so there's the Wikipedia page, and then before that, Vanity Fair, stuff like that. This is where they're getting their information from, and they are just rolling with it.
If you don't like what's going on, if you think this political violence is bad, you're not a Groyper. I don't care where you are on the political spectrum. And if you think this is cool, if you think this is good, you're on that side.
Groypers don't think political violence is cool. That's how you know this lady is just full of shit. She has no idea what she's talking about.
That's how we gotta play this shit now. Now, what I would like every parent to do, but especially MAGA parents, if you've ever in your fucking life heard your son mention Nick Fuentes or seen your son watch this guy right here, you need to talk to them right now. Educate yourself on what a Groyper is first, and then sincerely look into your heart and ask yourself if that describes your son or daughter, your child. And if it does, you need to look through their computer, you need to look through their phone, and if need be, let the FBI fucking do it. Have them unlock their phone, have them unlock their computer in front of you so they can't do shit, and then immediately go to Discord. Look up Groyper, look up Nick, just read through their fucking logs. If they play the game Helldiver 2, that could be an indication of something. If they have a Discord dedicated to the game Helldiver 2 with their friends who like that game, read that fucking Discord. And I know some of you MAGA folks are like in secret militias and shit. This shit is not the same as a militia, okay? There is no order. There is no hierarchy. There is no specific plan or objective. It is just create fucking chaos, be the Joker, impress other Groypers with death and cruelty. The answer is not doxing liberals, okay? That's not gonna stop the violence that's happening. The answer is to talk to your son. Like, for real. You can stop your son from becoming Tyler Robinson.
Oh my gosh, y'all, this is crazy.
The Groyper theory was the correct one. Raised in a typical middle-class white family household surrounded by guns. That looks like gender ideology, doesn't it, guys? Come to think of it, I'm sure all of the people that fear-mongered for the last 48 hours are gonna take all of these posts down about people who use she, her pronouns. I'm sure they're all taking down their posts about how it was the radical left. As of right now, he has no party affiliation. Both of his parents are Republican, though. He's in a deep red state, and he was surrounded by guns his entire life. His dad is also a former sheriff. Importantly, all of the bullets were engraved with Groyper nonsense, which is a very terminally online fascist group of people primarily based in Discord who don't hate Israel because they're a genocidal state, but because Israel houses Jewish folks. It is an anti-Semitic hate group. They also...
Not true. Not true at all. Nick Fuentes has said multiple times that he doesn't hate all Jewish people. That's how you know these people are just so full of shit. He doesn't hate all black people. He knows that a bunch of his fans are of all races, of all religions. I mean, these people are... This worries me, because this is exactly what they did to Charlie Kirk. and one of their radicalized people murdered him.
Also love Pepe the Frog. So this guy was none of the things that they fear-mongered for 2 days about. He was cis, white, and a gun nut. He wasn't pushing gender ideology or whatever. He comes from very much the same group of people that currently hold all 3 branches of government. And from the group of people who perpetuate the most violence in this country by a country mile. I'm sure we'll start hearing white-on-white violence needs to end now. I'm sure we'll hear about how these hateful communities filled with cis white men saying these terrible things need to be curtailed. And we need to start removing these people from public life, right? No, exactly. Because the system has been rotating around this for a while now. But now we've created a world where this violence comes out, where these ideologies are validated.
He wasn't an immigrant, he wasn't a person of color, he wasn't anything else besides a white nationalist and a Groyper. What's that? Well, let me show you some of their insanity.
White man, fight back!
A Groyper is what happens when these people realize that this movement was a lie. So rather than leaving one cult, they join another, led by this man who famously said,
"It's your body, my choice."
And somebody who also had major beef with Charlie Kirk.
Charlie Kirk never had a kind word to say about me in his life.
Groypers can be identified almost solely by these memes, this complexion, and these Penske rental vans. These are the people that I have dedicated this channel to combating. I make so many videos trying to remind people the horrors that this man created and why history cannot be allowed to repeat. This is not directly a Groyper meme, but the connections between the Charlie Kirk assassin and the Groyper movement are there. And if this white-on-white gang violence continues, we could have a very bumpy road ahead of us.
I know I'm not alone when I had no idea what the fuck a Groyper was until yesterday, but I went down the rabbit hole and oh my god, this shit is fucking hilarious. And you know, MAGA's not going to do its due diligence. They're going to just stay in denial like they always do. But I'm going to tell you what the fuck this shit is all about in the simplest terms possible. All right, the Groypers are an alt-right, far alt-right fascist group that basically thought Charlie Kirk was not far-right enough. And their leader is Nick Fuentes. But what the fuck is up with these dudes just praising these beta boy motherfuckers, right?
What's up with you wearing all that makeup? Calling someone else a beta, but you're the one wearing the makeup. I can see the difference between your neck and your face and your chin and your face. Yeah, you got a lot of makeup on, dude, but okay.
Anyways, the Groypers are like a bunch of video game, meme-inspired, introverted type lone wolves, man, that are quiet. They're real quiet. And MAGA, on the other side, is the alt-right gym bros. They're the loud motherfuckers that get on this app every day and be like, hey, bro, it's going down, it ain't going down. They're the dudes with all bark and no bite. So Nick Fuentes hated Charlie Kirk, and you could just go and look at all the videos. And the crazy part about the Groypers is they're so delusional, they call everybody else fascist, which is why those inscriptions showed up on the bullet. And MAGA's not going to do its due diligence, be in denial, be like, oh, that's why he said it. But that's not what he said. That's not why he said it. And the craziest part about all this is after Nick Fuentes found out that Tyler was part of his group, he said he would disavow and disown any violence in response to Charlie Kirk's death. And now there's obviously a part to that because he doesn't give a fuck about Charlie Kirk's death. And that's because Nick Fuentes looked at Charlie Kirk as a rising star in MAGA and he thought he still represented the status quo. So the Groypers really believe that everything needs to be torn down and they're going to rise from the ashes like the phoenix and take over everything. So this shit is confusing to just regular people like us because Nick Fuentes, who's a vile person, basically did what MAGA's never done, which is disavow violence coming from within its own party and say, no, this is not how we're going to do it. So he really wants to win through legislation. He's more aligned with the Heritage Foundation and J.D. Vance, which also makes no fucking sense because J.D. Vance came out and was like, Nick Fuentes is a loser. I disavow him. But
Nick Fuentes can't stand J.D. Vance. He is not trying to go nowhere alongside him or anything like that. Ah, the lies.
But Nick Fuentes, you know, he supports the files coming out. He basically is like, yeah, that motherfucker's in the fucking files. So that's where Tyler came from, man. This is where this kid got his views and where he came from. And if you look at what's been going on online, they're like, oh, we don't have Charlie Kirk, but we got Nick Fuentes. But that's because those Groypers never liked Charlie Kirk. And it's more likely than not the kid from Evergreen was a Groyper. These are the types of kids that go within themselves. You know, the video game kids, man, they're the internet kids. They're the Reddit kids. Real introverted. Just getting all their information online, getting their whole ideologies formed online because they don't have the socialization skills to go out and make friends. And they're also the types of kids that get bullied. Look at Nick Fuentes. Guaranteed that dude was bullied. And who do they get bullied by? Ironically, it's the gym bros. It's the MAGA crowd. I look back, I went to high school, dude. I looked at all the kids that I consider bullies, bro. They all had conservative views. Every single one of them. You know, this is an ideology, man. And the gym bros are dumb, right? They're idiots. The Groypers are the much more intelligent ones. So when you look at it just from a danger perspective, we got to watch out for the Groypers, bro. We ain't worried about fucking MAGA. MAGA gets dangerous in the crowd. They need that my mentality. Look at everything that I said, you know, before all this shit came out, bro. I said these motherfuckers tried to gangbang. And the funny thing about MAGA, you know, they're the gym bros. They're just the racist motherfuckers. While the Groypers are the neo-Nazis. I mean, there's some of those in the MAGA party too. But the Groypers, MAGA is not far right enough for the Groypers. And the Groypers call everybody else fascists. This shit is so fucking funny, man.
No, they don't.
But you know, y'all got to look out for those lone wolves, bro. It's always the unsuspecting ones. It's always the ones that you look at aren't a threat, that are actually the threat. Because they're likely the ones doing all that. Anyways, MAG is so sad right now. Oh, y'all so sad. But
Look at him doing that with his hands the whole time. Like he's so smart. He knows what he's doing. He's very confident in what he's saying. When in reality, he sounds like a fucking idiot. Just complete dumbass.
y'all gonna lose. The Groypers will take MAGA out. Period.
So I was 2 years old when I realized Groyper wasn't the new name for the McDonald's fish fillet sandwich. So I'm going to save y'all from having to go down the rabbit hole I went down all day yesterday and just kind of tell you the Nurse Tough Love version of what a Groyper is. So essentially it's a gang of virgins. So the leader of this gaggle of virgins is this dude, Nick Fuentes. He's the one that was like, yeah, women, we own you, your body, my choice, whatever. I don't even want to play the video because he's just not worth my platform.
He was
But the thing
joking.
about me is that I will always give credit where credit is due. And this dude is pretty fucking smart because he has targeted the most fragile snowflake population there is, and that's young white males. So these are the type.
I think she's wrong because I am not a young white male. Stupid ass. And you would be surprised at how many women actually follow Nick Fuentes because we are sick of this shit.
Type of men who think that they should get a CEO position just because they're a white man, and they scream DEI hire when a black woman with 3 master's degrees gets the position.
Wrong.
Yeah.
Wrong.
What Nick Fuentes has done is said, I see you. You're like me. And we're important. Even though the world may not see that we are the most important men ever, I see you. I think that you're important. Fucking young men who look like this, or this, or this. So essentially they get on these discords and they just spread hate and mis and disinformation.
They don't know what the fuck they are talking about.
And they're like, we're not getting noticed in the world. So what we'll do is we'll be so fucking far right extreme that they will have no choice but to pay attention to us. Like, can you not just go ride your bike or something instead? Like, this is their little mascot thing. Like, what the fuck? I'm just confused. Newsflash, dudes, this Discord and this movement isn't making you any more fuckable. Anyway, how do we as a society put a stop to this very rapidly growing movement of white Christian nationalism? Starts with us, white mothers. What are your kids looking at online? When was the last time you had a dinner conversation and sat at the table? And now I sound like a trad wife, but I'm being serious. And I know that some of their mothers are probably just as bad as they are, but I feel in my heart that the majority of them probably aren't because these people are fucking extreme.
So sitting at your table having dinner with your family is like frowned upon by them? That's a trad wife thing?
So we as white women, white mothers, we need to do better. Shocker. I hope we can all rise to the challenge.
The most chronically online thing I think I've ever said on here, but I'm pretty sure that the guy who did the thing to Charlie Kirk is a Groyper. Most of you sane individuals out there who are seeing this are asking yourself, what the fuck is a Groyper? And I will explain, but first let me explain why I think that. When I saw the engravings, it was a light bulb moment. Also, can our media stop doing this? Stop blaming, like, specific groups for things before you do your research and figure out what these engravings actually mean. I'm gonna break these down one by one. Notices bulges. Ooh, what's this? It's a meme. It's a meme. Also, it's a furry meme, and a specifically anti-furry meme. Hey fascist, catch, followed by up arrow, right arrow, and 3 down arrows. That would be from the video game Helldivers 2. It's what you press to call in an airstrike. The big airstrike, in fact. Bella Chow also, how the fuck did he fit all of this on like 2.5 inches? Anyway, most people would think that that's a reference to Bella Ciao, as in like the Italian anti-fascist song. But given the context clues of everything else we see here, I believe it's a reference to Far Cry 6. Bella Ciao is like a whole thing in that video game. The last one, if you read this, you're gay, LMAO, that's obviously trolling. Like, that's blatant trolling. The dude also went as the Slob Squat meme for Halloween one year. Now, to answer the burning question, what the fuck is a Groyper? Here is the Wikipedia entry. You can pause to read if you would like.
Yep, there it is, guys. That's just the beginning of it. But if you guys keep looking, keep reading, it brings up Charlie Kirk and TPUSA constantly, and they are updating it constantly right now with that bullshit narrative.
But I will let you know that they are an alt-right, white nationalist, Christian nationalist group who follows Nick Fuentes. I want to put out there for legal reasons, I am not blaming any of this on Nick Fuentes. I am just saying this is my personal belief. Not that he's responsible, but that this kid is a Groyper. In fact, it's not just me that thinks this. 4chan is lighting up right now with people that think this. Like, they think he's one of their own. Also, going back to the engravings, this is a...
Oh, because they say it. It must be true, guys. It must be true.
A playlist from Spotify referencing the Groyper Wars, right? And what's on this playlist? Down here at the bottom, Bella Ciao. Now, I'm sure many of you are asking, okay, if these guys like Nick Fuentes, why did they go after Charlie Kirk? Because to us normies, they're essentially the same thing. But they're not. They're not at all. The followers of Nick Fuentes and the Groypers, which are one and the same thing, do not like Charlie Kirk. In fact, there have now been 2 Groyper wars, as far as I know, where they go after Charlie Kirk, essentially. Anyway, that's my chronically online rant for today. He might not be a Groyper. I'm not saying he definitely is. I'm just saying that's what I believe. He could just be like a 4chan shit poster. We see a lot of like shit posting in relation to mass pew-pews lately. We saw that recently, I believe, with the church one, with what they had.
I think those freckles are fake. I have freckles, and those look pretty fake.
Had inscribed all over everything. Like, it's a mishmash of internet meme culture, specifically like shit posting 4chan culture.
Are we going to talk about how Nick Fuentes said at the beginning of this month that Charlie was scared to debate him, but it doesn't matter because all of Nick's Groypers have infiltrated Charlie's space, his camp, his employees, his debates? Are we gonna talk about that?
Is a Groyper. The Groyper army is like the extreme and increasingly violent arm of the political right. I thought that was MAGA. The Groypers make MAGA look like Democrats. Okay, but they're fringe and not something that we need to worry about, right? No, there are several reasons to be aware of this group that is growing in power. For one, it's looking increasingly likely that the person that shot Charlie Kirk was somehow affiliated with the Groyper army. Wait, you're saying that the right is killing people on the right? Like, why would they do that? The leader of the group is a man named Nick Fuentes. The group uses military language like generals, and Nick has also voluntarily compared himself to this shithead from Germany in the 1940s and 50s. Are these the same guys that brag about how much they crank it to adult content? No, you're thinking of Gooners. Right. Nick Fuentes was a big fan of the MAGA movement, which is more than likely a version of the enemy of my enemy is my friend, because Nick really hates non-whites, non-Christians, and liberals. You said he was a fan? A few months ago, Nick started complaining a lot about how the MAGA movement was essentially a giant grift. So he's on our side. I think that he thinks it's a grift because it wasn't extreme enough. He was promised more racism. There's a lot of racism. Yep. Now, Nick Fuentes and Charlie Kirk were both focused on indoctrinating young adults and children, so Nick saw Charlie as a bit of a rival. Nick's radicalization is far worse, though, right? Far worse. Now, we shouldn't be praising Kirk. He was a dishonest debater that uses pedantry and confusing language to trick young adults into thinking that he was skilled and an honest interlocutor, when he wasn't. He caused a lot of harm by pushing racism and bigotry. But when you say that Charlie's a Yahtzee, you're stopping short of where Nick is. Bingo. So Nick Fuentes is increasingly disenfranchised with the MAGA movement. He's watching Charlie Kirk become massively successful with Turning Point, so Nick had Kirk killed. No. There's no evidence to suggest that Nick directly called for this. But there is evidence coming out that strongly suggests Charlie Kirk's shooter was at least tangentially connected to the Groyper army. What does adult content have to do with Charlie Kirk? Those are Gooners. Groypers follow Nick Fuentes. Right. Isn't the shooter's whole family like major Trump supporters? Like, why would he do that to someone that Trump loves? This is a faction of the right who happen to think that Charlie Kirk wasn't extreme enough. And with there being a power vacuum now in the youth indoctrination space, it is likely that Nick Fuentes will benefit in some way, because he's still pretty fringe. A few years ago, yeah, a lot of people probably would have lost their jobs simply by being associated with Nick Fuentes, but now they're just operating out in the open. They're watching adult content in public? Isn't that illegal? Those are Gooners. I can't keep track. I mean, it's part of the pipeline. What?
So they have to constantly be talked to like children and go through this little fake acting scene right here, I guess, to be able to understand things. But none of this is true. These people have him so wrong.
Today I learned what a Groyper is, I think. I've wrapped my head around the concept. And it's not an ideology so much as it's a commitment to having nothing to lose. Like, I don't think it's a left or right thing. If you're someone with something to lose on either side, which is the majority of us, you should be concerned. Like, Democrat or Republican, they hate us all. It's kind of nihilistic. These are your incels. Like, I fully think that man did it for the lulz. I'd never heard the words meme lord before yesterday. If you'd asked, I would have said something about the fat Jewish, maybe. Someone described it as like in the horseshoe that is political ideology. Each end of the horseshoe are the extremes of the left and right, and these Groypers live right between the two extremes. And when I metabolize that fully, my blood ran cold. I think I find it so terrifying because there's nothing scarier than an extremist with nothing to lose, whose motives can't necessarily be pinned down. Conservatives were just chomping at the bit to blame Democrats for this, but no, girl, this is a problem for us all.
If the shooter turns out to have a feminine boyfriend, that strengthens the Groyper speculations. They are obsessed with femboys. Oh man, the chronically online wokeness is paying off. There exists a subsection of incels who are so celibate and hateful and fearful of women that they groom other incels into feminizing themselves for the sake of the cause.
See, that's one thing that I know for a fact is that the followers of Nick Fuentes do not fear women.
They call themselves operators and cosplay as characters like Ghost from Call of Duty and other very, very militarized characters in gear just to take that gear off and then being all ooh or oh whoa, hey, look at that. To be more specific, because I know a lot of you are actually looking for information, they wear military cosplays, but underneath those cosplays are like lingerie and knee-high socks. There's even a subsection of femcel who does the same thing, and the Groypers hate them. People are just now finding out that there exists a whole subsection of alt-right that genuinely views MAGA, the Make America Great Again movement, as liberal. And you're not even in the pipeline yet. You're looking at it from a way far.
Oh no. Oh God, who's gonna tell her? Well, No one else is here, so I guess I'll do it. You ready? Take a seat. Your husbands, your conservative husbands, slip into our DMs more than any other group of people. In fact, it's been studied.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. They might not accept us. They might barely see us as human. But that's who men, especially conservative men, like to get it on with. People who they barely see as people. And that doesn't just include trans women. Yeah. They don't hate us because they want to fuck us. They fuck us because they hate us.
Yeah, I don't know about that, guys. I think that this dude or whatever it is full of shit. And I just had to share this with you guys because I thought it was absolutely ridiculous, just the outright lies that is going around on TikTok right now. And the sad thing is Fuentes can't even defend himself on there. He's not even allowed to speak for himself. You know, I do see some people posting videos of him and stuff, but it'll never reach that side of the internet. And yeah, it's horrible what they're still doing to Charlie Kirk on there. They're clipping it up and making him seem like the absolute worst person. These people hate us. And that is the truth. They do. They hate us. They want to see our downfall. And yeah, I just I can't with these people. They're just outright liars. They are horrible, horrible people. So tell me what you guys think. I would really, really like to know what you guys have to say about all these ridiculous peoples. I really appreciate you guys watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.